Welcome to Regarding Relationships, the podcast where we dive into all things relationships. The ones we choose, the ones we're born into, and the messy ones we're still figuring out. I'm your host, Haley, a licensed therapist, author, and soon-to-be doctor of social work. Yep, I'm almost there. I've spent years working with individuals, couples, and families, and I've seen firsthand what brings us closer and what pushes us apart. Together, we'll explore the mess and magic of human connection. So, let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm so glad you're here. I'm your host, Haley, and thanks for making me part of your day. Welcome to Forgive or Not to Forgive. Before we begin, just a quick note, this space is minimal on purpose. Just simple visuals and the sound of my voice, and it's designed this way to help you slow down and settle your nervous system. So whenever you're ready, let's begin. What is forgiveness, really? Well, let's start with a truth that may surprise you. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about your peace. Forgiveness means letting go of resentment, not forgetting what happened, excusing it, or pretending it doesn't matter. Forgiveness doesn't mean that the hurt was okay, and it doesn't mean that you have to reconcile. And it certainly doesn't mean that they deserve your forgiveness. Forgiveness is a personal, internal release. It's choosing not to carry the pain around anymore, not for their sake, but for yours. So why is it so difficult to forgive? You might be wondering, if forgiveness brings peace, why do I struggle with it so much? Well, here are 4 common reasons. 1, we often confuse forgiveness with condoning. For example, we think, if I forgive them, it's like saying what they did was okay. 2, we fear that it opens the door to being hurt again. For example, we might think, if I let go, what's going to stop them from doing it again? 3, sometimes we don't feel ready. For example, we might think, if I'm still hurting, doesn't forgiveness mean I've moved on? And 4, sometimes we're waiting for an apology that may never come. For example, we might think, I'll forgive them when they say they're sorry. But here's the truth. Forgiveness is for you, not them. And you can forgive with or without their apology, understanding, or involvement. When should you forgive? Well, there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Forgiveness is deeply personal, but here's a few guiding questions you can ask yourself. Is holding on to this pain helping me or hurting me? Am I carrying emotional weight that's no longer mine to hold? Have I confused letting go with letting them off the hook? Could forgiveness be a path back to my peace? Sometimes forgiveness is the next step in healing. Other times, it's okay to pause, to feel, to grieve, to process. Forgiveness is not a race. You don't owe anyone a timeline. When not to forgive, at least not yet. Well, you're not a bad person if you're not ready to forgive. In fact, trying to forgive too soon, before you've had a chance to really feel and process your pain, could backfire. It could feel fake, forced, even self-betraying. So if you're still angry, confused, or grieving, that's okay. Give yourself permission to be exactly where you are. Forgiveness is a choice, not a duty. You are allowed to withhold it until it feels right for you, if it ever does. So what does forgiveness look like in real life? Well, it doesn't always look like a heartfelt conversation. Sometimes forgiveness is writing a letter that you never send, saying, I release this while sitting quietly alone, unfollowing someone for your own mental health, not bringing up the pain every time it crosses your mind, choosing peace over punishment in your own heart. Forgiveness can be quiet, it can be private, and it doesn't have to involve the person who hurt you. So let's talk about the benefits of forgiveness, because you may be wondering, why even bother forgiving? Well, over time, not forgiving does start to cost you emotionally, physically, spiritually. Studies show that forgiveness can reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. It can lower your blood pressure and improve your sleep. It increases resilience and overall happiness. It can release emotional trauma that's stored in the body. Forgiveness isn't just kindness, it's self-care. So let's talk a little bit about what forgiveness is not, because these are a few common myths. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is not tolerating abuse or mistreatment. It doesn't mean reconciling or restoring a relationship. It doesn't mean trusting again right away or ever. It doesn't mean saying what happened was okay. Forgiveness means saying, I'm done carrying this pain. I release it so that I can be free. So how do you start forgiving? If you are ready to begin, here's a few steps. 1, acknowledge the pain. Be honest about what happened and how it impacted you. 2, feel your feelings. Rage, sadness, grief, let them move through you. 3, set boundaries. Forgiveness can coexist with distance. 4, shift your focus from them to you, from blame to healing. 5, use affirmations. Say things like, I choose peace. I release what no longer serves me. I forgive, not because they deserve it, but because I do. Still not sure? Here's how to decide. If you're torn between forgiving and not forgiving, try asking yourself, what would change in me if I forgave them? What am I protecting by holding on? Am I keeping this pain alive to stay connected to the story? Who do I become if I let this go? Sometimes the best way forward isn't clear, but even asking the questions brings you closer to clarity. Inner peace. At its core, forgiveness isn't about right or wrong. It's about freedom. When you forgive, you take your power back. You stop waiting for the past to undo itself, and you create space in your heart for peace, joy, and presence. Forgiveness does not rewrite the story, but it lets you decide how it ends. I would now like to invite you to take a quiet moment and ask yourself the following questions. What pain am I still carrying, and why? What would forgiveness feel like for me, not them? What do I need in order to move forward? You don't have to decide today, but you can begin to explore. For today's closing thought, to forgive or not to forgive, only you can answer that question. But remember this, forgiveness is not a gift to the person who hurt you. It's a gift to yourself. It's a chance to live unburdened, to love again, to breathe easier. You are allowed to choose peace, even if the past will never make sense, even if the apology never comes, because healing is not about them, it's about you. Thank you so much for listening today. If something from this episode spoke to you, I'd love to hear it. Drop a comment or share a question about a relationship that's on your mind. Big or small, your questions can spark conversations we all can learn from. And if you'd like to keep exploring these topics with me, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. I'm grateful you're here. I'll see you next time. And until then, stay curious, stay kind, and stay connected.